So our theme for the year is make it awkward. Now, that might sound like the worst inspirational quote ever, but stick with me for just a second. See, sometimes we get stuck in ruts or in patterns of behavior that don't serve us well. We avoid doing the thing, starting the conversation, breaking the cycle because it simply feels awkward. But here's the story. I grew up with a dad who was kind, hardworking, and a good man, but he never once told me he loved me. And at first I didn't think much of it, but as I got older, I started to notice, wait, my mom tells me that she loves me, and my friends' dads tell them that they love them. And I started to wonder, why doesn't my dad tell me? And then years went by, and then I turned 20. And I suddenly mustered the courage to ask my dad about it. But right before I was able to have a conversation with him, he passed away suddenly. So I asked my mom about it a little while later, and she said that my dad was uncomfortable telling us kids that he loved us because his dad never told him he loved him. He said he didn't know how to do it, and then so much time went by that it just felt odd to do something different. Here's the deal. The first time my dad would have told me he loved me, it would have been awkward. The second time he told me he loved me, it would have been awkward. Probably even the third time. But then after that, he would have just been a dad who tells his kid he loves her. And that's what Make It Awkward is all about. It's about doing the important thing before it feels easy. It's choosing connection over cool. It's risking discomfort so something better can grow. It's the text you've been putting off, the apology that's overdue, the honest conversation, the awkward prayer, the first move, or just saying I love you when you're not used to it. Because the more we resist awkwardness, the more awkward it gets. But once you give yourself permission to do something different, fear loses its grip. And that's where growth happens. That's where relationships deepen. That's where you start to feel known. And life gets way more fun. And when I think about it, some of the most important moments in my life required someone risking awkwardness. Like when my husband cold called me with this super cheesy pickup line to ask me out on a date for the first time. Or when my whole family awkwardly crowded into the delivery room when my babies were being born. Yes, all of them, even my brother, straight shot, could see everything. Or when I called a friend at 3 a.m. just to say, hey, I need help and I don't know who else to call. Marriage, friendship, parenting, it's all full of awkward moments, and that's what makes it so authentic and refreshing. What a liberation. And so this year, we're choosing a new way, because what if awkwardness isn't the enemy, but an incredible gift? It's also where the best stories come from. So this year, we make it awkward on purpose, and it's going to be glorious. If you were to ask my family about me, they will tell you that I like weird things. So an example is that one particular wall in my house is decorated with portraits of my kids and dog, but they're dressed in Regency era outfits. Here are some of the images. They make me laugh every time I walk by them. And they're also a major point of conversation anytime someone comes to our house for the first time. Another thing that we do at our house is put googly eyes on inanimate objects. My kids started this tradition years ago as a joke, and years later, it's still funny. You would be surprised how a few googly eyes on a bird statue can really brighten your day. But to be candid, for a lot of my adult life, I have felt insecure about my weird habits and preferences. But then not long ago, I saw this trend on social media where a woman asked this question. She said, what are some things you do to be more whimsical? I love knowing about cute little habits. You guys, there were like 20,000 comments, and they made me realize that everybody is doing awkward and funny things behind closed doors. So here are some of my favorite responses. Grace writes, I wear matching pajamas every time I change my sheets so that I can have what I call fancy sleep. Candy Mandingo says, when I leave the house, I always tell my dog, no parties while I'm gone, and then laugh so he knows he is 100% allowed to throw parties if he wants. Doula Suzanne said, when my kids were little, I would have a pretend phone conversation that they could overhear. And the talk would be about how wonderful and good and kind they are. I would talk in a way like I didn't want them to hear, so they would really think I was telling the truth. Of course, I would tell them this all the time, but I wanted them to hear it in a different way, so they wouldn't tune it out. Caitlin CC7 said, whenever I buy something online and it asks, is this a gift? I write a little gift message to myself, usually along the lines of, you're awesome and deserve little treats. Lawless McGee says, I wash dishes by candlelight, listening to medieval tavern music and pretend I'm a tavern wench. I love being reminded that everybody is a little more weird and awesome than we often get to see in everyday life. And so the very simple message that I want to offer you today is that one of the most powerful things you can do in life is to show up awkward. And parenting is this gold mine of opportunities to risk awkwardness, right? Every day we get chances to be brave or to hide. And our courage impacts our kids in ways that we might not even realize. So Mike Donahue, he's the lead singer of 10th Avenue North, tells this story about his dad that hits hard with me, and I want you to see it.
My dad is the most hospitable person on the earth, so much so that growing up in his house was frustrating because you'd show up to Thanksgiving and be like, where's the turkey, Dad? And then there's 9 people that I'd never met before, like, the turkey's right here in my mouth. Who are you? We met your dad at the tire store yesterday, and he said we could come to Thanksgiving. And it was really frustrating how hospitable my dad was until I started to turn it on him. And to give you an example, I remember some friends of mine, they called me at midnight, like, hey, you said that your dad has a house right off 95 and we could stay there. So I call my dad, wake him out of a dead sleep. Like, Dad, I got 8 buddies. They're coming your way. Dad? Dad? Do they like chicken? What? Oh. Are there any pescatarians in the group? I think a couple of guys eat fish. Goodbye, son. I get a video text the next morning of them walking up to my parents' house at 2:30 in the morning, and my dad is shirtless on his back porch with a headlamp on, actively grilling chicken and fish at 2:30 in the morning. Wow. For guys he's never met. Some of us have parents that make imagining a loving father more difficult. And some of us have been gifted to have parents that make that easier. And my dad made it very easy for me to believe in the invitational heart of God. When I read Isaiah 55, come everyone who's thirsty, I go, that makes sense. When I read Matthew 11, it says, come all you who are weary and burdened, I'll give you rest. That makes sense. When I read Revelation 22 and it says the Spirit and the bride say, come, I go, of course they do. Because that's who our God is. That's who my Father is. And that's who my Heavenly Father is.
Ever since I saw that, I've been asking myself, how would Mike's dad show up right now? Because here's the truth. When we give ourselves permission to be awkward, fear loses its grip. We start to care more about connection than pretending we're cool and in control. And growth happens and relationships deepen. And we start to feel known. And so here's another example of what this looks like in real life. A woman named Sheila O'Malley posted on Instagram. Her handle is Sheila Kathleen, if you want to track her down. And she talks about a time her friends made bold moves to swoop in during a time when she was struggling. I'll read what she writes. Sheila says, the year after my dad died was so bad, I don't remember 90% of it. I moved to a new apartment and was unable to unpack for months. I was ashamed I couldn't unpack. How can you be unable to unpack? Just open the boxes. That was the year I cried for 19 days straight. My good friend David, who I've known since high school, knew I was struggling, and he felt helpless. He said, you are loved and we need you. And I was like, doesn't matter, but thanks. So he took a risk. It very well could have ended badly. I could have lashed out. I could have been really offended, but he took the risk. He sent out an email to a group of local friends without my knowledge and said, Sheila's struggling. She needs our help. Let's all go over there and unpack her apartment for her Bring food, let's make it fun. At 6 p.m. on Thursday night, the doorbell rang and 10 of my friends barged in, bearing platters of food, cleaning products, in complete unconcern for my, wait, don't come in here, I haven't unpacked yet, protestations. They ignored me and got to work. They unpacked my boxes. They put away 1,500 books. They hung pictures for me. They organized my closet and put away all my clothes. Meanwhile, someone set up a taco making station in the kitchen. People brought beer. By the end of the night, my apartment was all set up. Here's a break for dinner. Please note that my friend Sheila's dinner plate is resting on my DVD player. At the end of the night, I looked at my friend's husband, a quiet, taciturn guy who drives a tugboat on the Hudson. Practical, man of few words, and I just looked at him, speechless, not knowing how to say thank you, especially to this tough, resilient, self-sufficient man. He looked at me, saw the look on my face, understood the look, understood everything that was behind it, and said, listen, baby, what we did here today was a barn raising. When they all swept out of there 4 hours later, my place was a home. Not only was everything put away, but now it had a memory attached to it. A group memory, friends, laughing, dirty jokes, hard work. These are the kinds of friends I have. Be that kind of friend to others. To reiterate, this plan could have backfired. I very well could have been offended, insulted, hurt. David took that risk. Being a friend takes commitment, a willingness to take that risk. That's the kind of person I want to be. Someone who is willing to take a risk. Because the truth is we all get in ruts in life. And we get in situations that are hard to get out of because it feels awkward to make a move. Maybe we've let a conversation be put off for so long that now it feels awkward to bring it up. Or it's been so long since we initiated sex in our marriage that now it feels awkward to make a move. But the truth is that the more we resist awkwardness, the more awkward it gets. And sometimes we just have to be brave enough to make a move in order to get unstuck. Here's what I'm learning. Getting awkward is one of the most powerful things that we can do to improve our parenting, our friendships, our faith, our marriage, our work, all of it. The world needs us to make it awkward. And so may this be the day you decide to go overboard to tell people you love them. May you pray for people and ask for miracles. May you show up with a taco bar when your friends are going through it. May you embrace your weird habits that the rest of us find endearing. And may you live wild and free as front yard kind of people, constantly choosing to make life awkward in a good way. Amen. And let it be so.
Thank you. Thank you.